The Great Wall is directed by Yimou Zhang, one of the most famous Chinese directors working today, and stars Matt Damon, and is the very fictional, fantastical story of the Great Wall of China and a mythical battle that apparently went down at one point in time between a gigantic army and a bunch of iguana dragon thingies. So, it sounds awesome. In fact, I was kind of excited for this movie for one specific reason. This director also helmed Hero and House of Flying Daggers, two gorgeous films that I thought were totally epic, and I was really excited to see what he could do with a very high budget. This is the most expensive Chinese film ever made entirely in China, and it's a co-production between a lot of Chinese production companies and American production companies, and obviously we have Matt Damon here to help sell it to American audiences. And so there was some controversy because, he's not Chinese, and there's a lot of Chinese people in this movie, and people were worried about it being whitewashed or that it was a white savior movie. We'll talk about that towards the end of this video, but as a film, let's discuss that first. To be honest, for about the first half of this movie, I was actually kind of enjoying it. I was having a lot of fun, laughing and enjoying myself, but probably not in the ways the filmmakers were hoping I would, because I found the film aggressively cheesy, and I found Matt Damon's accent to be incredibly shaky and very off and on, and he seems very miscast in this movie. He doesn't really fit into this film, and it has nothing to do with the color of his skin. I just feel like the focus of this movie was very mismatched. Some of the battle sequences are huge and grand, and they remind me a lot of the Helm's Deep sequence in The Two Towers. And then there's some smaller character moments, and then there's some fun, lighthearted, very American moments. And then there's very Chinese moments in this film in which it feels very much so like a foreign film. And then there are moments where they're like, no, we have to sell it to America, so we're going to have all this humor and all these little big superhero moments that don't really make sense. But that's fine because there are dragons and iguanas. This movie's allowed to not make sense, which I can kind of forgive it for that. But after that first half, the film is forced to no longer rely on big, over-the-top special effects sequences that in their defense are actually quite a bit of fun, and the film has to show some characters and actually build some of that character, and that's where the film falters. This film has terrible characters. Matt Damon is a boring, bland character. There's barely a single thing interesting about him. Him and his partner are in China looking for black powder. We know that as gunpowder. They're eventually captured by this Chinese army, and there's really not much to him. Even some of the Chinese generals in the film and other people involved with this army, where they could have some depth, they just kind of stand around and yell a lot and make battle cries and say things that are heroic, and there's just nothing to these characters. So whenever the film isn't involved with an amazing action sequence, it just kind of goes poof. Those action sequences are quite a bit of fun, and there's a lot of them. The CG is most definitely CG. I mean, there's no way around it. It looks like a bunch of computer-generated imagery. We know it because, these things don't exist, and this is a fantasy epic, but they just don't look convincing. So we have some fun action sequences with some beautiful use of color and a very forgettable throwaway movie whenever it tries to be dramatic. Let's talk about the controversy behind this movie because yes, I am going to go there. I don't feel this movie is being whitewashed just because Matt Damon is on the poster. He is one actor in this film, and it's a fantasy epic and it's fictional. It's not about something that actually happened. It's not about the building of the Great Wall of China. He arrives in this film early on and is taken prisoner by the Chinese, and for the majority of the movie, he's either in shackles, behind bars, or simply a pawn in the army. He's never the king or the queen. He's barely even a rook, if you want to compare this to a chessboard. He's basically just a really fantastic archer who helps out with the army. Is it a white savior movie? Is it about a guy who's white who comes into a culture and teaches them how to be heroes? No, they capture him early on. He's very dirty and filthy and hairy. And they look at him and they're like, dude, clean yourself up. Have some respect. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So he shaves and he cleans himself up and he shows them he's an amazing archer. But as for being a savior, the only person he actually actively saves in this movie is one very young, inexperienced soldier who is, understandably very frightened because he hasn't really seen that much of war, whereas Damon's character has. And that's really it. For the rest of the movie, he is most certainly a team player. If anything, he learns from the Chinese people around him how to be a more respectable person, how to show honor. So I think a lot of these complaints are very unwarranted, and even the filmmaker himself has been very outspoken about these complaints as being offended by them. He has said from the very beginning that this role was supposed to be for a European character and not a Chinese man, and they always wanted to get somebody like Damon in there, and obviously they're trying to market it and, get more people to come to the theater. But the other thing that's important is to recognize that with the amount of money that's been put into this movie by the Chinese production company that has helped made it, being the most expensive Chinese production ever to be filmed in China, they are heavily relying on this film's success in other places besides China to continue to expand the Chinese film market internationally. And they're really looking for this film to be successful so that they can do that. So the people who are detracting this movie who've never actually seen it, who want more progressive films made by people outside of America, I think aren't realizing that the success of this movie is kind of important for that to happen. So it's kind of like you're in a battle against yourself. Unfortunately, I wish I could sit here and say this is a good movie. It's not. For a long majority of the runtime, I found it to be an enjoyably bad movie. And I think you can actually watch it and shove popcorn in your face and laugh. Beyond that, though, it's very disappointing, and I'm going to give The Great Wall a C. So guys, I am finally starting to feel a little bit better. I can talk for a long time without having to cough up a lot of mucus and phlegm, and there you go. Enjoy that image. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.